1.
The Hornets get a win, sort of. I think we still want them to do what they did last night. They got a victory over Utah. What does that mean for Charlotte the rest of the way? Doug brings another mock draft to the table, and we'll talk about the rookie, Tidjane Salaun, his progress. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on the Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time?
Game Time?
Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we have a newsletter introducing the Locked On Hornets daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now, LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. The Hornets could not out-tank the Jazz, no matter how hard they tried, which, to their credit, they didn't try nearly as hard as they did when they played New Orleans in their most previous game to that. They did win against Utah, 110-106. It was close at the end. I thought we might be going to OT, but there was a missed bunny by Utah at the very end of this one. It was close, but Charlotte holds on again. They win 110-106. So, yikes. Miles Bridges plays 26 points. I tweeted out, it was like, Miles could get whatever he wanted to if they really wanted to win this game outright and just let Miles play 35 minutes. He had 9 points early in this one. I tweeted out, tanking Charles Lee. What about Tidjane Salaun? Competitive Charles Lee. Let Miles cook. We can get this win easily. And so, of course, you have a mix there. Now, I guess Miles did play 35, so he did play a lot. He was 11 of 17 and scored the 26 points. Their other typical starter, Mark Williams, was 8 of 9 from the field. He's now 17 of his last 18 field goals in each of the last two games. 18 points for Mark Williams, 13 rebounds for Mark. But other than that, you're talking about a lot of young players. They still get the job done because, again, Utah is starting a whole bunch of guys that absolutely should not be starting on an NBA team right now.
Yeah, a lot of guys out for Utah, not as many guys out or not as many players that would have been normally available for the Hornets. Not as many of those guys out in this game as there was against New Orleans, and then they played all of the guys in the fourth quarter. I will say, I was on the game notes for this for every Hornets box score, and I actually enjoyed this one because it's the toilet bowl. It's the absurdity of March NBA basketball for two teams where winning isn't necessarily the priority. And so it's an opportunity to get goofy and lay some facts out there. Like, did you know that the all-time Utah Jazz franchise leader for points scored in a game? Do you know who it is?
Adrian Dantley?
Close. He's, okay, I think, third all-time. Karl Malone's second with 61. Pistol Pete Maravich, who did it in the 70s for the New Orleans Jazz. Never wore the Utah purple and white. So you get to look up stuff like that because you have time. Because that's sections.
That's why we like the game. It reminded me of what I watched last night. Reminded me of the Pistol. It's fun times.
Right. Sections of this game had the intensity level of a warm glass of milk. And I'll also tell you this. If that game had gone into overtime, I would have thrown my laptop into the bathtub while I was in it.
I would have stolen... Yeah, no doubt. I would have stolen one of the T-shirts that a kid in front of me caught during the T-shirt toss and thrown it right at the official's head had he done any type of funny business to make sure that this thing went to overtime. And it was close. Now, the Hornets almost allowed this to go to overtime. I thought they were in the clear when Filipowski missed a three-point attempt that would have tied it, but then they get the offensive rebound and they put it right back up, and so then it's a 1-point game, so we have to drag this out a little bit more so. And then, of course, again, they missed the bunny at the very end of this one, so the Hornets hold on. Any other thoughts on what you saw from Charlotte last night?
Oh, I got lots of thoughts. Isaiah Collier, he's a good ball player. If Utah or somebody else wants to get him, like, he's good. Your guy, Bryce Sensabaugh, knocking down threes for Utah.
My guy.
You love that guy in the draft.
I did like him.
I thought Bryce Sensabaugh was going to get the Hornets the tank win, which is a loss to the Utah Jazz, which I think, as I'm thinking about it and what the Tankanistas would think about this Hornets win, I don't even think, even if they had gotten this win, I don't even think it was realistic for the Hornets to jump up to 2 or 1, because I think the Wizards and the Utah Jazz, everybody's going to do a similar amount of losing moving forward. And the Hornets, I guess it would be different if the Hornets would have moved into one of those slots with a loss, but they wouldn't have. They would have still been I think they may have been a half game ahead of, because Washington lost. So it would have been the same with Washington. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered.
We need New Orleans to lose a lot. That's what we need. We need New Orleans to just keep plummeting.
And they just shut down Zion. They shut down somebody else. I think the Hornets are locked in at 3. Here's what I appreciate. That at home in front of the Spectrum Center crowd, for the few sickos who are still paying for tickets to watch the Charlotte Hornets play in Spectrum Center, and for the truly lost who are out there watching it for 2.5 hours on television, that they at least tried. They played the guys. Now I will say, I thought Mark Williams had good intensity. I thought Miles Bridges, this isn't even a criticism. He just didn't look like he wanted to be out there. He looked like he was sleepwalking through his 26 points. And again, not a criticism, because honestly, I don't think he should be out there anymore. I think they got to find a reason,
right.
Whatever reason, hangnail. He's upset about what's going on with White Lotus and the new season, so he's out for personal reasons. Whatever it is, they need to find a reason to sit Miles for the rest and let Tidjane, who we'll talk about later in the show, go wild, because he just doesn't. He doesn't belong out there in whatever. It's not basketball. It's not NBA basketball. That was a close game, but that was, so many turnovers, so much sloppiness, so much walking through plays. Certain sections of the game looked like ballroom. It wasn't real basketball.
I think right. I think Miles knows his role, and Charles Lee has communicated that effectively to him. And Charles Lee talked about that after the game. He said, "I like putting Miles in these lineups because it just brings a grown up onto the floor and it allows things to organize." And this is what we talk about quite a bit with these rookies. If you want to facilitate growth, well, having a veteran out there helps that. They know what to do. They know the offense better than everyone. They know the defensive scheme better than anyone. So it allows everybody to do their job, not do too much. I think Miles helps with that. So I think we're getting the perfect Miles. I actually like him out there. So we got a few more games. It's fine. We're going to lose a lot more. I hear you. I completely understand. I even agree with you to some extent. But the other side, the other angel on my shoulder and the devil, they're arguing. One of them is saying, who cares, man? Let's just put Miles out here to help with Tidjane, to help kick out, and let the offense run effectively so nobody has to poke their eyeballs out.
Okay, that's fine. Although in the last couple of games, I just would like to see the young guys run wild.
Fair, for sure.
If Miles is part of your future, there's no reason to subject him to an injury that could. Because again, and I say this seriously, and I know it's sort of a joke because the Hornets are just injury plagued. But when the basketball becomes what it is right now, where it's not very rhythmic, it's sloppy, it's turnovers, it's guys who they're playing certain players who don't know how to play. That's when injuries can happen. When you're not in the flow of an NBA game, that's when you can tear an ACL or something weird happen, or some guy closes out on you too hard and lands on you weird, you land on them weird. So I just don't want to see any of that happen. So that's what I'm saying there. Here's what I like. I'll tell you what I didn't like. Against New Orleans, the playing them 3 quarters and then sitting everybody for the 4th, I don't like that. Either don't play them or play them when it's close. You got to hide the fraud, okay? If this is all going to be fraudulent, it's not going to be real basketball, fine. I'll grit my teeth through it, and I'll understand the larger implications of trying to go out there and get Cooper Flagg and what that could mean for this franchise. But you got to hide the fraud. You cannot make it so blatant where you say, we're going to play Miles for 3 quarters, close game, he's having a great game. Nah, he doesn't play for the 4th quarter. If he's going to play, then they need to play all 4 quarters or don't play them at all.
Well, and I don't, it even still is tough to hide the fraud, because I asked Charles last night just about experimenting. You're putting Mark Williams, Yusuf Nurkic, and Tidjane Salaun all in the front court together. So Nurk and Mark are playing. Charles Lee was laughing, was like, yeah, my assistant coaches, they think I'm crazy, like it's the 90s playing Smash Mouth basketball. But we are experimenting here in Charlotte now. This is full on. Let's throw things against the wall. Let's see what sticks. I don't know if I'll ever use it during real winning time basketball, but I'm going to use it now. And I think you go into this game, Doug, understanding something that I've talked about already a few different times. You cannot out-tank Utah. You cannot look over to their bench and say, I can lose to that team. I can lose. I know they almost did, but you can't go into that game. You can't go into that game thinking I have the upper hand on losing this basketball game when they have all those dudes playing for them. Utah, they're on a mission, and they're going to make sure that they are the worst team in basketball to ensure that they have 14% odds to get Cooper Flag.
Yeah, you talked about those double big lineups. The Nurk Mark minutes were brief, but it had a minus 34 net rating, mostly because defensively it was not very good. The Nurkic, Salaun, Taj lineup was outscored 15-11 with a net rating, honestly, a little bit better. The net rating there, minus 25. The double big thing is not crazy. It's actually a growing trend in the NBA. You see it. Boston's doing it with KP and Al Horford. You've got OKC doing it a lot with Hartenstein and Chet. Obviously, the big difference is, just a gulf in talent, but you also have to have bigs that can shoot. KP can shoot. Horford can shoot. Chet can shoot. Isaiah can kind of shoot, but also Isaiah can pass. He can play make. You have to have skilled bigs, which I think the Hornets are a little bit short on.
But Nurk is the one that can kind of shoot. So that's the idea. That's the idea of putting him out there. Tidjane, same thing. Tidjane could shoot in this game for sure. Tidjane, Nurk are capable shooters, and Mark is not shooting from three. So that's the idea. You go big. But Charles even said, I'd like to be better defensively with the bigs in there last night, and they were not good.
Just run one play for Mark to get a jump shot. I don't know why. Particularly in that game.
I cursed last time you talked about this because you're so right, but I don't want to curse again. I can't do it 2 days in a row. I'm with you. No. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Son of a bitch!
Bees everywhere!
That bleep kind of worked with the bees. The bleep, it kind of worked in that transition. I want to give you some finishing thoughts on this game with the experimentation Charles Lee is rolling with. Also, we have another mock draft, and we'll dive deeper on Tidjane Salaun's progress. All coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. We appreciate Monarch Money for helping us out here on Locked On Hornets lately. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. With all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, you can go beyond just managing money and start building wealth. You might be surprised at how much you're spending on things like food delivery or streaming subscriptions. They are directly looking at me with this read. With Monarch, you'll see exactly what your money is doing, where it's going, so you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch makes it easy to check your finances, track spending, and even plan for long-term goals all in one place. And if you're managing money with a partner, it's never been smoother. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals together, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season, it's coming to an end, but the playoffs are about to be in full swing. There's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. Doug, so we have to get stuff right if we want to win Bet the Buzz and we want to win some of that stuff. That's the okay. Thank you, Prize Picks, helping us out on Locked On Hornets. What you can do is you could build your lineup this week. You might pick Aaron Judge for more than one home run, especially with the bats that they're using.
Dingers.
Dingers from the torpedo. Even though Judge is keeping it old school with his bat. Shohei Ohtani, you might click on him for stealing one more base. Maybe just one base. Could he steal that? Fast and simple. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. More Locked On Hornets ahead.
Judge's arms are torpedoes.
Experimentation and what we saw last night. Any other rapid fire observations you have from this one? Guys coming off of the bench. Did you want to just allow this game to transition into Tidjane, who gave us 25 minutes? He went 4 of 5 from the field. He made all 3 of his 3-point field goals. He gave us all the celebrations in the world. There was a really nice sequence, I think, in the first half where he hits a couple threes. There was also a hustle rebound. He actually lost it. I think he grabbed it and then turned it over because it went out of bounds. But like, it was still a good play. It still showed a lot of effort. Tidjane, your boy, Doug, how are you feeling about the Rook and how he's progressing?
Really good, and I think more importantly, he's feeling really good about his own progress after the game, talking about how the game is slowing down for him. And that might be an overused cliche, but it looks true when you watch him play versus seeing him in Summer League and preseason and when he got some early minutes for this team, where he did look like he was rushing things, just looked like an Energizer Bunny, running, jumping everywhere without much purpose. Now he's doing it a little bit better, and it helps that he's hitting shots. And, you know, you never know how guys are going to respond to moving back and forth between Greensboro and Charlotte about not getting minutes immediately. And, you know, look, he was the dude for his French team. So, yes, he's young. Maybe he shouldn't have had any expectations of what his role was going to be in the NBA, but he really gravitated towards the player development program that Charlotte has laid out for him, and he's taking advantage of it. The game, it's finally slowing down for Kai Jones now that he's in Dallas, now that it took him this long to figure out, hey, I'm a rim-running center, and if I just do that, I can shoot 80% from the field and be an asset for my team. But he could never figure that out in Charlotte. And so you really can never take that for granted, that a player is going to take what the team tells him, hey, here's what we've studied, here's how we think you're going to be successful, and to trust that and to see that out before immediately going, no, I know better, I know what I can do and what I can't do, and do that for the team. That's what Tidjane's done, and you can see the results, not just with his offense. I've been hyping up his defense mainly. He had a great 3-point challenge with 30 seconds to go that honestly probably saved the Hornets. It didn't save the Tankanistas, but it saved the Hornets' victory.
So you bring up Kai Jones. I mean, what a laissez-faire way to bring in Kai Jones of all people. You just went right on it.
He's making headlines. It's relevant. He's making headlines.
Yes. When we're talking about Kai Jones on the Locked On Hornets podcast, you can't just stroll through Kai Jones lane and then move on. We got to set up camp here just for a little bit, because Kai, with his game log right now, he's shooting 84% from the field since he's been acquired from Dallas.
I told you.
I mean, he's had a 20-point game. He scored 21 against Sacramento, 18 against Indiana. Those were losses. They did beat Chicago, and he scored 15, and he was 7-8 from the field. Okay, so just one, if you didn't know, I don't know what kind of pain that causes, but Kai Jones doing well in Dallas. The interesting thing about Kai Jones and Tidjane comes down to what we've talked about with so many of these young players in a Hornets uniform. Can they figure it out here, or do they have to go somewhere else before they figure it out? And one thing that I've been really tired of seeing throughout my Hornets fandom, especially in the last 5, 7, 10 years, is the players having to figure it out somewhere else. And nobody outside of Jeremy Lamb is the one that comes to mind. Not many players figure it out here. So
and Lamb wasn't drafted. He was brought over.
That's right. So will Tidjane Salaun figure it out in a Hornets uniform? It's always a question with these raw guys. It's always a question. But also, we wanted to simplify the game for Kai. How much do we want to simplify it for Tidjane? Because Kai was drafted based off of his raw ability. He was drafted and traded up for because he could shoot threes, because there was a tiny bit of handle to his game. You could see him becoming, oh, this is really hard to stop. There's more stuff he can do than just be a rim running center. Whereas Tidjane, do you just want him to not dribble as much unless there's a clear lane to the basket? Is that going to clear lane to the basket, go ahead and take your drive. If not, I need you to just go ahead for a spot up shot or get the ball out of your hands. Dunker spot stuff. Is that what you're asking him to do? And how long does it take to answer that question? All of these are things we're going to have to keep in mind as Tidjane progresses.
Well, he's got a little bit of a handle. You saw it when he picked up Mark Williams, tipped an offensive rebound his way, and he picked up the loose ball, scramble play for the defense, and he shows off some nifty offensive footwork, getting himself quickly into position in the left corner and knocks down the jump shot. And then he had a transition play where he gets the ball in transition, kind of open from three, thinks about it some more, and then steps over again. Nice footwork to get yourself squared up, and he knocks down another three. I think in terms of simplifying the game, when he's playing with a full complement of Hornets talent, yes, you simplify. You allow him to do easier things. But late in this season, the rest of the way, I want to see him challenged to make plays for himself, to make plays in transition, and I don't think he should be severely punished if those things don't always go right. If they never go right, then you go, wait a minute. But I've already seen him make some transition plays that were just vastly different. His decision-making is vastly different. What he sees out on the floor is vastly different than what I saw in Summer League. And so that's why I'm saying he's picking these things up. And I'm with you. I think the Mitch Kupchak era of drafting players is littered with guys who weren't figuring it out and were either disgruntled with their role or just were not equipped to be ready to play in the NBA in the first couple of seasons. And I think a lot of that comes down to getting guys with hard work attitudes who are going to understand, hey, it's going to take a ton to get myself into position to be ready to even have a small role on this team. And that's the kind of guy, they were telegraphing this when they told us who Tidjane was. They were like, dude, this guy's a project, but he is going to be the hardest working MFer every day, every single day and twice on Sunday. And that's what he's been. And you're seeing the fruits of that development.
This is the time to see what Tidjane can do when you're mathematically eliminated from playoff contention and you are incentivized to some degree to lose, to a big degree to lose. This is the time. So you don't have to answer that question now, which is the beautiful part. We're asking questions for future issues on what you might do with Tidjane when it's time to win. But right now, let him dribble the basketball and show some promise, and also look like he doesn't know what he's doing every once in a while. That's totally fine. Let him do that right here, right now.
Couple quick things before we go to the other side. And on the other side, I have a neato fact from this game. But just real quick, want to shout out KJ Simpson, who was the better J. It's been KJ versus NSJ. NSJ, he just can't have an okay game. He either has to go 6 of 7 from the field for 17 points, blistering from 3, or he has these apocalyptically bad games. He had a negative game score in this game, 3 points in 19 minutes, 3 turnovers. It's a very bad game for NSJ. But KJ, on the other hand, had himself a quarter, particularly in the fourth when it mattered. Hit a big 3, then he steals an inbounds. He scored in transition. He got under Keontae George's skin and drew a foul before an inbounds, which gets you a tech free throw. That's, again, there's going to be his ability to get minutes are going to be so dependent on his ability to knock down shots because of his size. But there's just going to be no question his effort, his mentality, like that's check. Those boxes aren't getting unchecked. It's fun to watch KJ do work.
Love KJ Simpson. Keontae, he grabbed KJ's neck. Like you don't see a throat grab all that much in the NBA. It's pretty rare.
He's tiny. He was probably going for his chest, but he's tiny, so he hit the neck.
It was like the tightest. It was just one 1 second, boom, let go. And then the crowd, they were all going crazy. We actually thought it might be something worse coming for Keontae than just the technical. But anyways, yeah. I guess the officials aren't even watching the Hornets and the Utah Jazz play basketball sometimes. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Fun fact time.
Bees everywhere!
No. Neato fact time.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's different.
Neato fact coming up in the next segment. And we'll get to Doug's mock draft coming up next. Last segment, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time? There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, the grabbing of KJ Simpson's throat, maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out all the fluff and shows you the only deals that you should be going for. The best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets anymore. There's easy ticket shopping. You can check your Game Time app. There are amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up, super deals. Game Time Picks even highlights those deals, giving you the best bang for your buck, and you get peace of mind with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, Locked On NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time? More Locked On Hornets ahead. A Neato fact. I'm excited. What you got for the people?
Really quickly, before the Neato fact, this is just a fact, just a regular fact. This was the first wire-to-wire win for the Charlotte Hornets
Wow.
this season. Game number 76. It took a while, but they got a wire-to-wire victory. It was close because Utah tied the game up and had multiple chances to take the lead and couldn't do it. It actually made the game kind of sneaky fun. I don't know if you felt that in the arena. You probably didn't know. I don't know if people were tracking that. I heard EC say that it was the first one, and so that made it neat for me.
No, the arena, not a lot of people. Monday, Utah Jazz game, rainy outside. Just the perfect storm for 0 people to attend this game.
People could probably hear Eric Collins say it over the broadcast. You could hear it in the arena.
I thought I heard a good golly Miss Molly out there somewhere. It sounded like Eric Collins. But the people that were there, they got excited at the end of this one. So it was a fun crowd. Not a big crowd, but it's somewhat of a fun crowd with this close game.
All right, not the only milestone, though. Here's the Neato fact. The Hornets sweep the Jazz this season, and they do so for the first time since 1995. And that's the Neato fact, but I do want to, because I am the Hornets historian here for every Hornets box score, I've got to dig into that season, 94-95.
Okay.
Hornets coached by Alan Bristow. The 94-95 Hornets won 50 games, 5-0, baby. The first time in franchise history they won 50 games. Listen to this. LJ and Zoe, both All-Stars that season. LJ played 81 games. Alonzo Mourning played 77 games. Muggsy Bogues played 78 games. Del Curry played 69 games. Nice.
Yeah, that is nice. I thought
also Tommy Tolbert, Tommy with the frosted tips, had his second stint with the team and his final NBA season.
That was the last year of that run. And then I think the next year is the Glenn Rice era. It starts, correct? I think that's the last year of that LJ and Zoe era. And then you're moving on and Glenn Rice enters the equation. I think that's correct because I think he ended his career here in like 97, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So
Robert Parrish, the chief, also on that team, they got run out of the playoffs by some guy named Michael Jordan in 4 games in the first round. So disappointing end to that era.
Might be the only player as a top 75 NBA player all time. Might be the only Hornet. I don't know if anybody else. Tony Parker could be that guy.
Only real Hornet. I mean, with all due respect to Tony.
Well, no, that's the point though. Robert's not a real Hornet either. He was here for like not even a cup of coffee. It was a sip of coffee and then he's gone. So Zoe is the closest. But anyways, I always think of Robert Parrish being the Hornets' only claim to having an all 75 NBA player all time. All right, mock draft time. What you got for us?
Okay, before we do the mock draft, because we have not gotten to the draft lottery, we are on day 7 of 61 days of mock drafts. I am going to go to the Tankathon draft lottery simulator, and the Hornets with the third best odds at the number one. Well, they have the same odds at the number 1 overall pick as the other bottom 3 feeders at 14%, but they're locked into the 3 spot right now. They're 2 games above New Orleans. They're 3.5 games back of Utah. They're a half game back of Washington for the second spot. And I wonder here, they did a lot of moving back in our early simulations. Then in the previous simulation that we did, they moved up 1 spot to 2. I'm just wondering here if the basketball gods that I believe so strongly in will look at that last game and say, you did not shamelessly tank like the Utah Jazz. You did not, you hid your fraud well enough that I am going to bless you with the number 1 overall selection. What do you think? What do you think, Walker? Basketball gods shining on us today in the simulator?
They're going to have to overlook Taj Gibson. If they didn't see him, I think we're okay.
Here we go. Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop. Now they moved down 2 slots to number 5.
They saw him. They saw him. Like a groundhog seeing a shadow. More winter, baby.
6 more years of no playoffs. Okay, Charlotte moves to 5. So I will go to the latest from Jonathan Wasserman, who is a mock draft machine right now.
Yeah, we rely on Was a lot around here. Jonathan Wasserman gives us a lot of content to comb through during mock draft season, and we appreciate the Was.
Yeah, this was updated on March 31st, so updated yesterday. By the way, you're welcome for not doing any weird April Fool's content on this show. I hate that. I hate being tricked. Because it's always something that I want. It's like having that dream where you dream something that you've always wanted. I win an Emmy, I win an Oscar, and then I wake up and it's not true. I hate April Fools.
I won't fool you. Okay.
I appreciate it. Here's the mock draft. Utah Jazz take Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall. Number 2, Washington Wizards take Dylan Harper. Number 3, the Charlotte Hornets take VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. Wasserman not moving off of this mock of Edgecombe to Charlotte at 3'6". He's listed as 6'5", although some people jumped in the comments. They thought he was smaller. He's 19 years old, 180 pounds. Pro comparison, Andrew Wiggins, Victor Oladipo, Iman Shumpert. If I scroll to number 5, Wasserman still high on Derek Queen at number 5 out of Maryland. Derek Queen sharing an emoji tear that his head coach is moving on to Villanova.
Yeah. The VJ Edgecombe talk is going to be really interesting if the Hornets don't get the number 1 overall pick. Does he have enough size? Does he have enough shooting for you to feel comfortable taking VJ Edgecombe? I actually like what he showed you a little. So kind of a tale of 2 halves to the season for VJ. First half, not as good, and then he started to get it going and then played some tournament basketball, postseason basketball. He had a good game against Kansas State in their win in the Big 12 tournament. You had a game against Houston at the very end of the season where he went for 23 points. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. That's a great defense VJ went against when he scored those 23 points. Tournament time, 6 of 12 against Duke. Also another really good defense where he scored 16 points and got to the foul line 5 times there. So getting to the foul line, I think, can help with some of your shooting concerns, and then that can serve as a buffer before he really does learn to shoot from distance. So I think as we start to get into some surface level analysis here, I think I'm in on VJ Edgecombe. I'd be fine with him being the 3rd or 4th pick, depending on the kinds of opinions that I'll develop about Ace Bailey in particular.
Depending on how down you are on Brandon Miller's playmaking ability, how much you want Brandon to focus on making plays for himself as opposed to making plays for others, if you're more in that camp, then I think you should be higher on VJ Edgecombe, who Wasserman notes here that if you compare him to Ace Bailey, who would be the guy I think battling him for that number 3 spot, had nearly 3 times as many assists as Ace Bailey, far better free throw numbers, rate and percentage, and a greater defensive impact. So if you take VJ, you're just getting a lot more of the things that typically denotes a player who is going to make a solid impact on your team. But if you take Bailey, you really are taking the ceiling. You are hoping that some of those things come together over the first couple of years, and you're looking at the size of Ace Bailey and saying, man, this is a guy who can, if all things come together, he can get a shot over anyone. VJ's probably going to have to be set up. Ace is going to be a player that will set himself up either for success or for failure, but will be able to get, he has that sort of thing where it's like, I can have a man advantage over a team. Not sure you could say the same thing about VJ Edge. VJ Edge screams to me solid NBA role player.
Yeah, and you want to shoot for the stars. Usually, if you're up here, then you usually want to shoot for the stars on some of that power. Just I wanted to say the last 18 games, so around the last 20 games or so, he was averaging about, again, 5 free throw attempts. I really like his ability to get to the line. He shot 80%. So with that being a possible indicator, right, free throw percentage often being an indicator of good shooting, perhaps that's something he can tap into during his transition to the NBA. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That does include YouTube. You can also watch Locked On NBA there. You can also subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. We're still an audible medium, folks. So if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you just open up the podcast app and subscribe. Now, if you do the whole subscribe, unsubscribe thing again, just land on subscribe. Otherwise, we've just played
Really
ourselves. So don't help us play ourselves here. Just land on subscribe. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.